Hey, what's going on, guys? Tobin here with you. Thanks for checking out the channel. If you guys could subscribe here, subscribe to the Tobin and Leroy show. That's available on the WQAM YouTube page. You can also subscribe to the audio podcast if you guys just want to take us in your ears somewhere. That'd mean a lot to me. Much quieter garage this morning as my 7-year-old is not, peeking his head in. Although he did tell me that he wants to be a YouTuber as well. He wants to have himself be one of those YouTubers there where they record his gaming. I said maybe Twitch is for you, dude. But now I gave him a camcorder, and so like this entire morning while I was watching Panthers highlights, he was just filming the Panthers highlights as they were going on. I'm like, you're on your way, dude. You got it all going on. And now I'm going to interrupt him during his videos. That's going to be what I have going on. And then he'll probably put me into a rear naked choke or an arm bar with his jiu-jitsu. Either way, looking forward to being boots on the ground tonight over at the Heat's house, Miami-Dade Arena, as the Sixers roll into town. Miami coming off that big win in Philly, and we'll try and keep that going as they got to get going, man. They got to string some stuff together with these standings. But there was some news yesterday in regards to the Miami Heat, and that was surrounding former Heat point guard Goran Dragić, who you guys know. I mean, I love Gogi. I mean, I am a sucker for Goran Dragić. I have been wanting it here since he's been gone. I did not like Goran Dragić leaving in the first place. I got it, especially with his injuries piling up, that they needed to maybe shore up that point guard spot. They did so in signing Kyle Lowry to a $90 million deal, and I would say that position's been anything but shored up since he's been here, other than his first stint in the regular season last year. So will the Miami Heat bring in Goran Dragić is an interesting question. I would say the early indications are no. Those were the reports coming out of the Miami Herald that they were not initially in on bringing in Goran, which is, I guess, the reason being, according to Barry Jackson, that they believe that they're going to get Kyle Lowry back at some point, even though he is going to be out yet again today. I think that's his 9th straight game that he hasn't played or something like that, which is kind of weird because, Kyle was listed as questionable briefly for the game in Philly, which was really odd. I don't know if that was like a mistake or what the hell was going on there, but he was listed as questionable. It was said that he was going to travel with the team, and then he just wasn't. Like he all of a sudden was ruled out for the game. But Barry reported yesterday, said at this point there is no Heat pursuit of Goran Dragić. Per source, Goran, waived by the Bulls, would be difficult to see minutes for him here, especially with Lowry expected back soon and Vincent having several good nights as the starter. Heat's roster is at 15. Which, yes, that is a part of this where you have a situation where you would have to drop somebody to bring in Goran Dragić. Now, they could do it and still be under the tax. I know that's been a big thing with the Heat franchise, that they want to stay under the luxury tax. So it's not punitive to sign Goran Dragić. It would just be a matter of, well, who are you dumping from your roster? Barry also tweeted yesterday, says, if Lowry believes his knee will keep him out for a long period after nearing a return earlier this week, he should let the Heat know ASAP before Goran joins another team. Dragić loves it here, but there's no minutes if the Heat remain sure that Lowry will be back. So that is an interesting thing. Like, what is the situation with Kyle Lowry here? Because if Goran is coming here and he is looking for playing time and Lowry is here, I don't know how much playing time there is for him. That being said, this Lowry injury that he's dealing with is a bit of a mystery. Like, we don't know how long he's going to be out. We're not really sure. There's, I'd be interested to see if he's going to be on the bench tonight in the building, because he hasn't even been in the building for games. Now, there were reports that he was in the building getting work done and things like that. But he had been like even away from the team with what they're calling excused absences. Maybe that was, hey, we're going to try and work out a trade. Nothing ever came to fruition. I don't know. But certainly the Lowry thing is interesting, and I don't know how much production you're expecting to get out of Goran from this point, because, he was not playing very many minutes in Chicago. They obviously thought that they needed a bit of an upgrade with the point guard position. Goran this year is averaging 6 points, nearly 3 assists. He's only playing like 15 minutes a game, shooting 35% from 3. So kind of dipped off after with only 2.5 attempts per game. So yeah, just wasn't doing much for Chicago. That being said, there is the goosey factor, and that is the fact that Goran Dragić means a lot to this locker room. He means a lot to a lot of the players on that team. When he comes back, it's just so happy. It's like the mayor coming back, like he's happy to see everybody. Everybody's happy to see him. How are you not happy to see Goran Dragić? He's going to be here probably anyway while he's looking for a team. Last year, while he had his whole thing going on with Toronto, he was basically coming to Heat games. He was working out of the facility. He was sitting in the crowd. Sometimes he was sitting with Bumpy Johnson. Goran he loves the city of Miami, and the franchise loves him. The question is, do you drop somebody for Goran? And who would those candidates be? The obvious two guys would be Omer Yurtseven, because he hasn't played this season, and Haywood Highsmith. And I saw some people, well, what about Nikola Jovic? You're not getting rid of a first-round pick. He's 19 years old. Don't be stupid. There's other people who are like, well, let's just get rid of Udonis Haslem. Have him retire. Don't be stupid. It's Udonis Haslem's 20th year. Stop being ingrates. Show some damn respect for the history of your franchise, the all-time leading rebounder, the longtime captain, the 3-time champion. You let Udonis Haslem go out on his own terms. I don't give a rat's ass if he doesn't play a second the rest of the year. Anybody who's suggesting that is an ingrate bum, and I won't hear of it. But, would you give up Omer Yurtseven and his ceiling or whatever you think that he could be for some possible depth of the guard position with a little bit of an injury case? I don't think it's off the table. We haven't really seen much from Omer. He is having this ankle thing. He is apparently going on a G League assignment, so I think that he'll have a lot more clarity on that. But yeah, especially if the Lowry thing does remain an issue and his health remains an issue, you really don't have another point guard. What if Gabe Vincent goes down? What if Gabe Vincent's had his injuries here and there? You don't have anybody else to run the point. You don't have anybody else to have that experience. Right now, you have your backup big solidified in Cody Zeller. That looks like, out of all the moves that they have made so far of Kevin Love and Cody Zeller, the Cody Zeller thing looks like, looks money. Like right now, it seems like they nailed that one. And plus, dude, that face. I mean, don't you miss little Gogi? And the other thing is, truthfully, you could build the Slovenian pipeline. Like, don't you find it interesting that after all these years, with Goran being available, negated trade? Remember this. Mark Cuban, I think, fears having Goran Dragić in his organization. I do. He doesn't want to let a fox in the hen house, all right, and have somebody in Luka's ear. This is what happened with Dwayne Wade in Chicago to Jimmy Butler. You get somebody in his ear, and then all of a sudden, Jimmy Butler wants to get his way to Miami. Could be the same thing with Luka, You bring in, if he brings in Goran Dragić, spy mission, tells him all about it, interesting. Don't forget about Zoran's relationship with Luka. And then you have like the whole thing going on with Jovic and Jokic, and all of a sudden you have like this build-in with the with the Slovenians, the Serbians. Something's a cooking there. So I do believe that Mark Cuban is trying to avoid fox in the hen house scenario here when it comes to Goran Dragić. The other thing is with this is like, he had this chance to get him. He negated a trade, which honestly ended up working for the Heat. Remember, they wanted to trade Goran Dragić before the finals run, and he was like, oh, no, I thought it was Derek Jones Jr. and Kelly Olynyk we were trading for. And then all of a sudden, Goran stays. He ends up being a huge key to the Heat's P's. Very close friends with Jimmy Butler. And, of course, we all know about Bull and Goats, like the two brates in the bubble, and how great Goran was. His foot, unfortunately, gets hurt. But this is a man, like, look, it's tough not to get tied to the emotional stuff for me. This man is a Heat great. He is arguably the best point guard of all time. I would say Tim Hardaway has a slight edge over him. But Goran was making his case and was right there. I believe his number 7 belongs in the rafters one day. I don't like the fact that they gave it to Kyle Lowry. I think it'd be weird if he comes here. What are we going to would he give Goran number 17? I feel like he should get number 7 back, and Kyle Lowry should switch numbers if Goran were to come back. He's the OG. But I would say my heart says, God, yes, I love him. My head says they're probably not going to make the move because we've been here before with it. I think that they probably, I don't know how much they believe Goran has left in the tank. I will say, though, I would absolutely love it. I would love it so much if it were to happen. If it doesn't happen this year, though, with UD hanging him up, Goran needs to be in the UD role next year. The veteran, godfather, overseeing everything, former captain, comes back. He has his captaincy there. He is the guy who overlooks everything. Like, you do need, I want a Goran Dragić, a last dance, if you will. That would mean a lot to me. I just think that this man, his history with the team is underappreciated. Don't forget, Goran Dragić came here to be the final piece for Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. He was supposed to be that final piece, and Chris Bosh got sick. He never really got that opportunity up until the finals year to really be that key final piece. And you're not looking at him to be this here. This is a boost, a pick-me-up, a morale booster, kind of like Kevin Love was. Just a little spice to get things in a positive chemistry direction. I feel like Goran can bring that kind of energy to the team. And is it worth getting at the expense of Omer Yurtseven? I don't know, because I don't know how much Omer Yurtseven's going to play. Haywood Highsmith, I wouldn't want to give up because simply I think that Haywood Highsmith is a demon on defense. You can never use enough of those guys in the playoffs. And I think that, let's just say you get into a situation, Vic's hurt, Caleb Martin gets into foul trouble. I know there's going to be a need for Haywood Highsmith at some point in a playoff series. I feel like there is. Like, the guy is just tumultuous. And with Omer, I get the idea. I get the praise of it. Maybe he was going to start this year. But, you're this deep in. You now have your starting bigs in Bam and Kevin Love. You have your backup big in Cody Zeller. When is he going to play? Like, what is going to be the role for Omer Yurtseven? That's the question for me. So if there is a move to be made, if there is a guy that you drop to bring in the Dragon, 77 is the odd man out, if there's anybody. I honestly don't think there will be. I don't think they're going to go this direction. I agree. I think that Goran will probably end up somewhere else. We'll probably see him in the building. He'll probably be in the crowd tonight watching the Heat. Maybe chopping it up with Andy Ellisberg while we wait. But he in the meanwhile will be around. But I don't think they'll go in that direction. But I really kind of wish they would. I'm not gonna lie. I love Gogi. He's the man. He deserves his respect. That's why welcomed him back on opening night. He loved it. I think everybody loved seeing him there, and he kicked our ass that night, quite frankly. So if you tell me that come in a week's time we have Goran Dragić on this team, am I going to be happy or sad? You bet your ass I'm going to be gooses galore, dude.